It is the Guru's birthday or the leader of the ashram's birthday because all of our births are considered to be insignificant compared to the liberating power of that master. When I lived at Ananda village in the first 10 years, especially when we lived exceedingly isolated, on January 5th and May 19th, Master's birthday in January and Swami's on the 19th, I was always surprised when the mail came. Because I just assumed or that people could go into town and do ordinary business on those days because they seemed like such massive opportunities to celebrate. The idea that everybody was just going business as usual seemed really odd to me. And I can imagine a higher yuga when the birthdays and Mahasamadhi days of all our gurus and all the great saints that will come out of Ananda in the years to come will all be global holidays. Won't that be a world worth living in? It'll be a glorious new age for all of us. In the meantime, happy Swamiji's birthday. And what a joy it is to be able to celebrate together. So let's begin with a prayer. Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, friend, beloved God, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Lahiri Mahashaya, Swami Sri Yukteswar, beloved Master, Paramhansa Yogananda, saints of all religions, dearest friend Swami Kriyananda, we open our hearts, we open our minds, we open our spirit to receive your presence. We are your children, wandering in this world with good intention, with good hearts, but not always with wisdom. Lift us above the delusions of this world, that we may see our way clearly, to walk the path of light that leads to eternal joy in Thee. Om, peace. Amen. Our program this evening will be a lot of music from Swamiji, written by Swamiji, some prayers, some poetry, just sort of all the different elements that we can bring together, plus Swamiji's voice and some video, some pictures of him. The point of all of this is to align our energies as deeply as possible with the omnipresent Spirit of Master, especially as it has been exemplified and transmitted to us through the person of Swami Kriyananda. After Master died, Rajasi said that on Master's birthday, he was taken up into the astral world where there was a great big party going on celebrating Master's incarnation. So let us imagine for the next hour and a half while we're together here that we have moved completely out of the physical world. On Christmas Meditation Day, we often play the Blue Danube Waltz, which was Master's tradition. And when we play it, Master encouraged us, Swami encouraged us to see ourselves in the astral world, dancing with all the masters. And Swami would set the example for us, and he would stand while it would play, and he would sort of move like this. You could just sort of, with this blissful smile on his face, moving to the music, you could just see his consciousness was somewhere completely else. Well, let us go to that place. Let us go to the most beautiful astral universe of light that we can imagine. And let every word and let every image of the time we're going to spend together reinforce not this mundane world, but the true heavenly world, which exists in the midst of this, It's the inner world which is our true home. And now let us leave this world for that world, at least for a time. So let us begin.
I was made for thee. I was made for thee alone. I was made for dropping flowers of devotion gently at thy feet on the altar of the morning. My hands were made to serve thee willingly, to remain folded in adoration, waiting for thy coming, and when thou comest, to bathe thy feet with my tears. My voice was made to sing thy glory. My feet were made to seek thy temples everywhere. My eyes were made a chalice to hold thy burning love, and the wisdom falling from thy nature's hands. My ears were made to catch the music of thy footsteps echoing through the halls of space, and to hear thy divine melodies flowing through all heart tracts of devotion. My lips were made to breathe forth thy praises and thine intoxicating inspirations. My love was made to throw incandescent searchlight flames, to find thee hidden in the forest of my desires. My heart was made to respond to thy call alone. My soul was made to be the channel through which thy love might flow uninterruptedly into all thirsty souls.
Keep calling him, keep calling him, keep calling him. Whether he replies or not, keep calling him. In the temple of unceasing prayer, believe that he's approaching there, and call to him, keep calling him. Thou dost know I'm praying, Lord, you know I love no other. I'll speak not, nor ask when to expect from you an answer. You know my heart. I'll call to thee again. Keep calling him, keep calling him. Whether he replies or not, keep calling him. I'll wash thy feet of silence with the waters of my tears. The altar of my soul will be empty till thou comest. I'll wait for thee, no matter days or years. Keep calling him, keep calling him. the center of my heart I have a mystic throne for thee. The candles of my joys are dimly burning now in hope, awaiting thy coming. Though it be eternity, keep calling him, keep calling him, whether he replies or not, keep calling him. Even when there's no reply, never let your longing die, and call to him, keep calling him. Remain persistent, undepressed, through dark and seeming silence. If in the midst of life, disease and death, you play the dancer, yet keep calling him, you will receive his answer. Keep calling him, keep calling him, keep calling him.
I bow to God as Father, Mother, riches, wisdom, friend, companion, everything. And I bow to him in you. Because God is everywhere, and the more you can learn to see him everywhere, the more you find that all is bliss. Now mind you, bliss does not mean giggles. Bliss does not mean that everything is going to go just the way your ego wants it. But you must remember that the soul and the ego are different, and that the soul wants infinite consciousness. The ego wants the comfort and care of this little body. And if we can just say, God, 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 if everything that we do is seeking to just surrender ourselves to him, to offer our lives to him, then don't think that God's going to make it easy for you. There is a principle on the spiritual path that he does take care of his devotees. But there is another principle, that it isn't as if he cleared away the brambles on the path before you. I mean, the roses. He may throw brambles in your way. He doesn't strew your path with roses. Sometimes yes, but sometimes no. Because he wants you to understand. I remember one time we were developing a new property somebody had given to my guru. It's called the Lake Shrine now. It's in Pacific Palisades in California. But when we first got it, there were these gnats that would sort of get into your eyes and ears and nose and mouth. And just, I said to Master with a wry smile, I said, what an irony. Here we have this beautiful place and it has to be ruined by these gnats. And Master smiled a bit wryly. He said, that is God's way of keeping us always moving toward him.
I have been roaming, forsaken by thee, who hast seen me groping, hardly ever answering. I shall be roaming, roaming, bursting all the boundaries of heart, evermore moving towards thee, to thy vast, unthrobbing heart. Come thou to me, O Lord, O come at last to me. Centuries and centuries I have waited now for thee. Through endless incarnations I've called out for thy name, searching by the streamlets of all my silvery dreams. I know that thou must come at last to steal the flowers of my heart. In sorrow thrills I pipe my love, I sadly sing my song to thee, and yet I know my love must reach thee, though many lives I have to wait on mountain crags of high devotion. I sadly sing my song, my song, my song.
From the depths of slumber as I ascend the spiral stairway of wakefulness, I will whisper, whisper, God, God, God. Thou art the food, and when I break my fast of nightly separation from thee, I will taste thee and mentally say, God, God, God. No matter where I go, the spotlight of my mind will ever keep turning on thee, and in the battle din of activity, my silent war cry will be, God, God, God. When boisterous storms of trials shriek, and when worries howl at me, I'll drown their noises loudly chanting, God, God, God. When my mind weaves dreams, dreams with threads of memories, on that magic cloth will I emboss, God, God, God. Every night in time of deepest sleep, when peace dreams and calls joy, joy, my joy comes singing evermore. God, God, God. When waking, eating, working, dreaming, sleeping, serving, meditating, chanting, divinely loving, my soul will constantly hum, unheard by any. God, 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 God.
Those whom God loves, he tests. Why? Because he wants them to understand that life is not just parties and happiness and easy times. We must have a certain sternness in our seeking. There must be a certain understanding that although life is joy, the joy that we want is not in the things that we get. It isn't. I've heard people say, "Oh, my guru he's so wonderful. He helped me to get a new apartment." Well, okay. I mean, yeah, he can help you to get a new apartment. Yeah, he can help you to have good things, but very often he proves his love by taking away that apartment or setting fire to it, causing you to lose everything as we lost in that fire. Don't think that God's desire is your pleasure. Pleasure, as it says in this book here, God is for everyone. Pleasure is counterfeit happiness. Happiness is counterfeit bliss. And so it is that when we are on the path, if we take it seriously, then we must realize that we are going to have to embrace the hard experiences as well as the easy ones. We're going to have to say with equal joy when the tests come, it is your grace. I remember when I went through the greatest pain I've had in this life, Ananda, the great woman saint in India, whom I had great love for, my guru had left his body by then, but she sent a message to me through a disciple of hers. Accept this as your guru's grace. And I thought, grace? That's one word I can't accept now. But I found out in time it was true. That it was through that I became freed to do the things that I was supposed to do in this life. It was a great blessing. And I have seen this in my life and in other people's lives. At first, very often, because I sometimes think God has a strange sense of humor. But I have seen also that when people stick it out with faith, they don't lose faith and say, goodbye, God, and all your crazy crowd. They just go along and just say, God, where would I go? I'll just keep seeking you. They find that in the end, his smile is there and his love is there. And he gave them those very tests, not for their hardship. It was those tests that helped them to do the very thing they needed. God's guidance is not necessarily the guidance we want, But I have seen that although he closes all doors that make any sense to us and opens a door that we don't think could possibly be right for us, if we have faith in him, if we go through that door, we finally discover that was the only door that would have taken us where we wanted. No other thing would have worked. Really, he is conscious of you right now. He's conscious of the least flicker of your thoughts. And the more you give yourself up to him, the more you will find that his guidance is there and he's giving you what you need at this time. Don't doubt that, because, well, I mean, naturally you'll doubt it in the beginning, but if somehow you cling with faith to that thought, you will see that my words are true.
Through all trials we sing thy name. Joy in thee is life's sole aim. Through all trials we sing thy name. Joy in thee is life's sole aim. Through all trials we sing thy name. Joy in thee is life's sole aim. Through all trials we sing thy name. Joy in thee is life's sole aim. Through all trials we sing thy name. Joy in thee is life's sole aim. Through all trials we sing thy name. Joy in thee is life's sole aim. Through all trials we sing thy name. Joy in thee is life's sole aim. Through all trials we sing thy name. Joy in thee is life's sole aim. Through all trials we sing thy name. Joy in thee is life's sole aim. Through all trials we sing thy name. Joy in thee is life's sole aim.
Dance in me thy dance of infinity. O Mother Divine, I have learned to love thy dance of destruction, for I see now that what is destroyed is my own ignorance and folly. Thou hast shattered again and again with thy war dance of destruction my fragile cage of bones and flesh, and consigned it to crematory flames. Thou hast done so smilingly, to show me and everyone that our souls are ever free and cannot be burned or broken. With thy mercy, thou hast stripped away, sometimes seemingly with harshness, but always with loving purpose, the countless hardened, mud-encrusted covers of delusion that coated us. I appreciate now thy dance of devastation. Mother, together let us cremate my every desire, frailty, weakness, and finitude forever and ever. I'll join thee laughing in thy dance of evil's destruction. O Mother, since nothing more is left now of my finiteness for thee to destroy, dance in me thy dance of infinity and of cosmic love.
I'd like to read from this book, Conversations with Yogananda. It's number 109. In his later years, the master, like many other masters, experienced physical illness. He explained that a master, according to the law of karma, although free from personal karma, may take onto his body the karmic debts of others, and in that way free them for more rapid spiritual growth. This loving sacrifice was the true reason for his own illness. "Carry my body," he cried happily to us one day as we carried him up a flight of stairs, "and I will carry your souls." On another occasion, as we were carrying him, he said, "You are stealing lots of magnetism. That's good. It will help you." When, after a long illness, he had recovered sufficiently to take short walks in the garden, I said to him one day, "It's so good to see you walking again, sir." "Yes," he replied, "it is good to be out again, but this body is not everything." Smiling cheerfully, he added, "Some people have the use of their legs, but can't walk all over." So, what we need to do, and this is one way that God tests his devotees to see if they are true. Are you as true to him in the dark periods of your life as in the light? Are you as true to him when everything seems to go wrong as you are when everything went right? If you are, you will find, and there's no exception to this rule, you will find it's a truth that if you live by him with faith, sooner or later that darkness will vanish. And just think how many lives you've lived. Think how long this wandering pilgrimage of ours is before we finally find him. But the end of it especially is so wonderful. Don't doubt that. Every grief, as we sang last time, every wrong has its ending in song.
Nightingale, nightingale, sing of joy through the night. Teach my heart to impart everywhere your delight. Sing of moon rays on the rain, sing that love's not in vain. Every grief, every wrong has its ending in song. Nightingale, nightingale, sing of joy through the night. Teach all men how to spin clouds of gloom into light. Without silence, what is song? Without night, where is dawn? Were it not for men's woes, who would smile at a rose? Nightingale, nightingale, sing of joy through the night. Let each tone, silence groan, earth and heaven unite. Morning laughter, evening tears, snow and blossoms all fade. Joy must sing in the night to face change unafraid. Nightingale,
nightingale, nightingale.
In the very early years of Ananda, when we were living at Ananda village, and that was basically all that Ananda was, we didn't even have to say Ananda village then. You just said Ananda, because there was only one Ananda, and that was that. I don't really remember when we started celebrating Swamiji's birthdays in the way that we did for a number of years, but it was the first year or two that I was there. And we started putting on these big outdoor events. The weather was always a little dicey, but it seemed to come out clear on May 19th. And in fact, there was even a place that wasn't on Ananda land, but it was down the hill from the meditation retreat, and we began to call it the birthday meadow, because every year on Swamiji's birthday, we would just sort of move out into that area, and we'd put up canopies, and we'd put up tables, and we'd bring refreshments, and we'd bring all of us. There's a photograph, it may have been shown through the cycle tonight, where Swamiji's sitting in a chair and there's a lot of small children around him. He's wearing a garland, and it was with his long hair and his orange robes, and that was taken in the birthday meadow in one of those very early events. And one of the things I was in charge of cooking at that time, so I was always in the middle of those because I was making food and helping to just the logistics of the thing. And we'd go down in the morning and we'd create a whole world there, just on land that actually wasn't even ours. It was just government land that we would use. We'd create this whole world, we'd bring everyone in, we'd have this huge celebration, then we'd take the whole thing down and it would go away. And after a while, at least for me, it became somewhat symbolic of the whole learning experience of what Ananda was. Because I had arrived there as a perfectly ordinary American girl. By the time I arrived in the community in 1971, actually my 49th anniversary is June 1st, so it's coming really soon. That was the day that I arrived. When Swamiji heard we were coming, he told us to arrive on a Tuesday before noon, because that was the most auspicious time to get there. So it was a Tuesday, June 1st, 1971. But I was just a perfectly ordinary American girl. I knew I knew something about self-realization. I was steeped in the teachings of Ramakrishna, and I'd read a lot about saints by that point of time. But my whole being was just this ordinary Western world that we lived in. And Swamiji's intention with us had so many different levels, what he was working with. He was on fire with this mission from his guru. He wrote in the Path later on how Master at the garden party declared the importance of these communities. I'm planting my words in the ether, I'm sowing my thoughts in the ether, and they shall move the West. And it was that these communities would start. And Swami Kriyananda, especially once he was separated from SRF and had to find a pathway on his own, felt that it was his duty to start these communities. So we were out there just in this very remote location with very little money and just making it up as we went along. And Swami was working with us on levels that I couldn't perceive. I could feel something happening, but I really didn't know what it was, and only much, much later could I look back and see it. Swami was like this radiating magnetic force, and he was in his 40s at that time, and very, very strong physically, and very strong in his personality and his presentation, and the way he would teach and the way he would talk. Whenever he would give a talk, he would talk powerfully and quickly and just pouring these ideas out, to this little group of people, often outdoors. We'd be sitting in what we called the temple of trees on these mats that we had there, just, 50 people, 30 people. Swami would act. The energy Swami was putting out, he could have been in a stadium of 20,000 people. It was like he was campaigning from the east to the west to bring master's teachings and the thoughts that were sowed in the ether. And he just was having to persuade this whole culture to turn itself in another direction. Even those of us who were there with him, who had walked away from, we really didn't have anything. Almost all of us were young. Many of us were college dropouts. Only a few were married. There were just 1 or 2 children. It was a very, well, I'm speaking of the portion of the community at the retreat. There were more children down at what we called the farm at that point, but the core group. But we were still totally imbued with where we had come from. And Swami was having to pull us like this into a new reality. But he couldn't push us into it. He had to attract it out of us. And so that's why I was saying he was this field of magnetism that our energies were being drawn into it. When I think of those years for myself, those first 6 or 7, 10 years, I think of myself as being in 2 pieces. And one piece of me was my mind. And my mind is big, my mind is forceful, and my mind is really, really busy. And in those years, and my mind in those years was really, really confused. And it was just going, it just was going in all directions all the time. And I remember just every idea that I had, I would present to Swami, and he would tell me which ones were valid and which ones were really dumb. And we sort of, just over the course of time, we just sort of gradually worked through it. And I was always spinning with emotions and God knows what. That was part of me. The other part of me was absolutely rock solid. Just absolutely rock solid. And I would call that my heart. My heart in the sense, not my emotional heart, but the feeling that was in my spirit. I knew exactly where I was, I knew exactly what I was doing, and there was no power on earth that was going to take me away from it. And it was like all of us, and I say us looking back in time, and I say all of us who are here now, that's who we are at all times. There's a part of us that is just moving in delusion. And the little thought brain, I want this, I don't want that, I don't know what's going to happen at the end of this period. Is there going to be an economy? Will I have anything that I still really want? Will my relationship stand up to this quarantine? Will my children be okay? It just goes on and on and on and on like that. But there's another part of it, and that's our soul nature. And our soul nature knows why we were born. Our soul nature knows exactly why we're here at this moment. It's perfectly content with everything that's happening because it knows that I came here for one purpose, and that was to draw closer to God. And everything that's happening, my soul nature perceives it as this beautiful package of light that Divine Mother is giving to me. Oh, look, this wonderful present. I'm going to lose everything I think I want, like this. I'm going to get to be somebody completely else, somebody much more wonderful. And the thoughts spin like this, and the soul just marches on, marches on. And sometimes, if we're lucky, the mind cooperates with it, and we all move in harmony. And if we're not lucky, the mind freaks out, and the soul just, it's like a drop of water being drawn to the sea. So we were there with Swami in those early years, and he was the ocean. I mean, using that image, it's a very powerful one. He was the ocean. He was the ocean of spirit that was coming through him, that was Master through him, and Master working through him because of Swami's absolute commitment to be that channel. It wasn't like, there was no surprise about why he had that power. He had that power because every single day he recommitted himself to that as the reason why he was living. He was a disciple of a great master, and in his heart and in person with Master, he had promised him. Master said, "You have a great work to do. Every man has disappointed me, but you mustn't disappoint me." Except, he said, everyone except Rajasi has disappointed me. But Swami thought, Master had many great men as his disciples. What could Master be speaking about? And Swami began to understand it was this work that had to be done. Because of the power of Master's life, Swami used to describe Master as a meteor streaking across the sky. Just this power just moving through the universe. It's so hard for us to fully cognize it's not hard for us to fully cognize, to cognize it all, sort of how this universe is really run. This is an energy universe based on consciousness. And what really moves this entire creation, not just our little town or our little feelings or anything, this entire creation is these movements of consciousness. In Autobiography of a Yogi, Master writes, Jesus and Babaji together have planned the salvation of this age. They're greatly concerned about the materialism and the bigotry and the growing violence. And I don't have to make the list. It's just, there it is. Look out the window. And Jesus and Babaji up in the Himalayas, this deathless yogi, Jesus, this great master, the way Master puts it in Autobiography of a Yogi, one with a body, which is Babaji, eternally in that physical body, one without a body, Jesus. And the two masters are working it out for us, for this planet. So when things happen in this world, we think that president or that prime minister or that cohort of bankers or this manufacturer is really doing things. But Master tells us Jesus and Babaji are working out the salvation of this planet, working out the direction of this world, moving us from Kali Yuga into Dwapara Yuga. And every one of us who is born into this period of time, born into any period of time, we always have the same choice, but this is where we are standing. What am I going to do with my life? What is the value of my life? What are my values? Who do I want to serve? What cause do I want to give my life to? I was an ordinary American girl in certain ways, but I was not ordinary in other ways, in that I had this absolutely overwhelming desire to give my life to a cause I could believe in. It just seemed to live just sort of halfway, just sort of a little energy with family, a little energy with work, a little energy with this, a little energy with that. I thought I would blow apart. Anguishing monotony. That's the word that Master gives it in Autobiography of a Yogi. I hadn't read that word. I didn't find that word until later, but I lived those words. Just the anguishing monotony of it was enough almost literally to cause me to lose my mental balance. And then Swamiji just walked into this room where I was sitting. It was a public lecture, and he walked into it. By then I knew that there was something about God and meditation and self-realization. I had all this philosophy. That was part of what was going headlong in my head. All this philosophy, but I couldn't figure out what to do with it. And then Swami walked into this room. I can't even begin to do it. Let me try to do it better. Swami walked into this room, and I had never seen anything like it. I mean, I say it. There was a he, but I had never seen anything like it. I had never seen anything like that walk into a room, because it was that pulsing force of magnetism of an instrument of a great master who was working for the transformation of the world. And all I thought was, whatever it is he has, that's what I'm looking for. He didn't even speak. He hadn't yet spoken. He did speak. He hadn't yet spoken, but it was what I wanted. You see, and then I learned what it was. First of all, above all, bliss. Not anguishing monotony, but ever new joy. And the opportunity to give that joy to others. Of course, first one has to acquire it for oneself, or at least a little bubble of it. Then you can keep blowing it out. As soon as you get one, you pass it on. That's sort of the way it works, like this. But a cause to believe in. My goodness, what a cause to believe in. The life of a great master and the opportunity to serve. The Jesus and Babaji working together with Master as their instrument to bring about the salvation of the age, to find one by one, by one, by one, brothers and sisters just like me, who are there longing for the greatness that we know is our true destiny, and trapped in this little tiny world that just drives around in cars and goes to work and makes our little houses, and oh dear. Yes, we can do all of that if behind it is this relationship with God. And so Swami was there and has been, is, and will be as Master's instrument, bringing this presence that above all, the reason I love to be with Swamiji in 1986, 87, which was fairly early on, he pulled me out of Ananda village and deposited me pretty close to where I'm standing right now, which is where I've been for the last 30 plus years of those 49 years since I came to Ananda village, because this was my destiny. So I wasn't able, as I was for the first 15 years, to walk over to Swami's house and see him every day like that. But I would go wherever he was, whenever I could, because I loved to be next to him. And the reason I like to be next to him is because standing next to him, you became more of who he is. Awake and ready and not merely able, but inspired to give. Inspired to give oneself to Master's great cause, inspired to give oneself to all one's brothers and sisters with the message. It doesn't have to be just a tiny little life and then one more death. You know, this can be a life that really matters. And at first, of course, I had to be with Swami to understand that. But gradually I began to figure out that what happened to me when I was close to him is that I was different. And you begin to understand that what he is the best iteration of me. So that there is this extraordinary transformation is actually the only word I can think of. We walk into this incarnation in our little physical bodies, and we have this idea that there's something more. And if that longing is sincere enough, then that something more comes in front of us. If it is our role in life to meet a man like Swami Kriyananda in person, or Swami's destiny to meet Paramhansa Yogananda in person, or if it is our destiny like Saint Francis to be devoted to Jesus, who had died centuries before he came, but to be so united in heart and spirit with that consciousness that Jesus just walked the woods of Assisi with him, just came and sat on the stone altar and conversed with him. Or like Saint Teresa of Avila, time and space is no obstacle. There's only one obstacle. That's our lack of receptivity, our lack of commitment, our lack of willingness to really put our heart, mind, and soul behind our aspiration. And we just have to do it every single day. Every morning we wake up. This strange world that we're in right now, where days are so much alike and schedules are so much alike. You wake up in the morning and you try to think, what day is this? What's supposed to happen? Oh yes, now I remember. But every day is also really exactly the same. What day is this? What's supposed to happen? It's now. Where is my consciousness? That's the only question there is. Where is my consciousness? And then my consciousness can take my body to care for my children, to do my work, to sit in meditation, to serve, to sing, whatever it may be. But where is my consciousness? Am I walking alone, or am I walking with God? Am I in the company of these great souls who have incarnated in this world to show us who we really are? Or am I hiding back, afraid that I won't be loved, afraid that I'm not good enough, afraid to risk it? What might happen if I try? This is where those early years with Swamiji, when we had so little, except we had so much. I don't even know. It had a quality to it that is what I have strived to live with ever since. In many ways, we were absolutely unafraid because we had nothing. We just had nothing. It's great having nothing, because there's no point in wanting anything because you can't have it. Having a little is more difficult. But we were just there for God. We were living out in the woods. We were living with this great soul. We were in the presence of this magnetic force. And it's taken me a little while to realize that nothing has changed. I allowed myself to grow up, and I allowed myself to become a worried grown-up. And I would ask myself, why was I so fearless when I was in my 20s? And why am I so nervous when I'm in my 50s? Oh, because then I trusted that Swami was going to take care of everything. What's the difference now? I don't have a good answer for that one. But that's the process. There's innocence. Swami used to love this little joke where this little boy would ask this little girl, a 5-year-old girl, "You a virgin?" And she would say, "Not yet." Which meaning she didn't know enough yet to know anything about it. So there's an innocence that's based on an unwillingness to take responsibility, a lack of knowledge of what this world is really like. And then there's the middle sadhana that we all have to go through, where we have to genuinely understand what God is asking of us. In the path, Swami says, very few understood the magnitude of the revolution that Master was calling us to embrace. The complete transformation of our consciousness, surrendering of every self-protective impulse that we had, in complete acceptance and openness to God. Whoa, that sounds really good until you try to do it. And then day after day after day after day, you hit your limitations, you meditate, you go to sleep, you wake up in the morning, and you try again. And that's what the spiritual path is. Just every morning you try again. And you run through that day and you see how close you can come. And then you meditate, you go to sleep, you wake up, and you try again. And then gradually comes the innocence of maturity. And that's what you saw in Swami. That's what we saw in Swamiji, especially. All during those middle years, he never lost faith. He never felt separated from Master. He never doubted the greatness of what the great work that Master had asked him to do, but he had to push every day against this world. But then the work was done. And so what you saw at the end of Swamiji was just, I was born for this destiny, Swami could say. Master gave me all of this to do, and now it's done. And then he could go back. Swamiji could go back to the innocence of a child, but with the maturity of a giant. And he would say, he said, when I die, he said, and I meet Master again. And Master says to me, have you loved me? Because he didn't think that Master would ask, did you get the job done? Did you write the books? Did you found the communities? Because all we have is our consciousness. Master would say, have you loved me? And Swami said he would answer with his whole heart, you are all I have ever loved. That's what we're working for, my friends. God, Guru, Jesus, Master, Swamiji, Babaji, Divine Mother, have you loved me? And we want to be able to say, Lord, you are all I have ever loved.
There's joy in the heavens, a smile on the mountains, and melody sings everywhere. The flowers are all laughing to welcome the morning. Your soul is as free as the air. The flowers are all laughing to welcome the morning. Your soul is as free as the air. Leave home in the sunshine, dance through the meadow, or sit by a stream and just be. The lilt of the water will gather your worries and carry them down to the sea. The lilt of the water will gather your worries and carry them down to the sea. Men hunger for freedom but don't see the dungeon is only the thought that they're bound. Desires are their shackles, the hope that tomorrow the doorway to joy will be found. Desires are their shackles, the hope that tomorrow the doorway to joy will be found. There's joy all around us, why wait till tomorrow? We've only this moment to live. A heaven within us is ours for the finding of freedom no riches can give. A heaven within us is ours for the finding of freedom no riches can give. There's joy in the heavens, a smile on the mountains, and melody sings everywhere. The flowers are all laughing to welcome the morning. Your soul is as free as the air. The flowers are all laughing to welcome the morning. Your soul is as free as the air. The flowers are all laughing to welcome the morning. Your soul is as free as the air.
all your griefs will be gone someday. All the losses, all the disappointments. Life goes on. Don't think that one life tells the whole story. And you may say, well, it takes a certain amount of faith. Okay, then let it be that. Then live in this moment. You can find that even in the midst of those difficult situations, you can be happy. I had open heart surgery a few years ago. They gave me a new valve in my heart, and that's a major operation. And the next day, I had a book at the printer, and it was supposed to be printed, and they were just waiting for the preface, and I hadn't finished editing the preface. So the next day after this major operation, I sort of pushed the fogs away and edited the preface. And I found that it didn't matter, so I'd had a heart surgery. But you don't have to be unhappy with that. The doctor came to me and he said, how are you? I said, great. He said, come on now, you've got to be in a lot of pain. I said, well, yeah, there's a certain amount of pain, but just think what I've had. Think how much stronger my heart is. They told me I'd be in the hospital 2 weeks. I was out in 4 days. These aren't miracles. They're simply willpower, and that willpower based not on a strong will like this, but just a simple recognition that, my gosh, everything changes. It doesn't matter. And so you don't take anything that seriously. Well, you know, life is wonderful if you can live it like that. All mind you, when you've lived as long as I have, you've certainly gone through trials. You've certainly gone through what other people would call suffering. But I have to say that more and more, I'm just grateful. I'm grateful for what he gives, and if he wants to give me more, well, I'm not going to take objection to it. I have faith that he will give me what I need to grow. And I want him to give me tests if I need them. I want to be corrected if I'm wrong. If I have made a mistake, I don't want to continue in that mistake. I'd rather learn now than have to go through other lives and have to learn all over again. I want to get out. This has been going on long enough. My goodness, when you think how long people wander, they can wander a whole day of Brahman. How long have you been wandering? You don't know. I don't know. But why let it go on? Up and down, up and down, up and down. Every fulfillment, you think, I finally got it. And it goes, you get disappointed and it's not what you wanted. It's sort of like a horse race. And you think, oh, let the horse win, let my horse win. And then, oh, it failed again. I remember a story by P.G. Woodhouse in which one horse ran so slowly it might as well have been finished first in the next race. Well, life is like that. We might as well enjoy it. But we can't enjoy it as long as we're attached. So the secret is not to be attached. Not to be attached to your ego. Don't feel that whatever happens, happens to your ego. Feel that it happens. But it happens for God's love. It happens to make you stronger in that love. And you will see that in that growth of love, whatever comes, it will be joy. You know, one time a great saint was dying, and the disciples said to him, how are you? And the saint, seeing the disciples' pity, began describing the ravages of this disease. But the more he talked, the more the disciple felt joy in himself. And finally he said, Master, don't say anything more. I know what you're really feeling.
We're going to end this evening with an arati. A few of us will come forward holding candles representing all of us. The individual candle represents the divine spirit within us, and an arati simply means a worship service, to worship. And we'll use the candle representing ourselves and all of you as if you were here with us, and simply offer that light, that little light that is in us, into the infinite light of the great masters. And as we are lifting these candles in front of the altar, feel within yourself, even if you feel to stand and hold a light or an imaginary light in your hand. But what the outer symbol represents is what Swamiji exemplified so perfectly in his life. We give our lives to God. Our lives do not belong to us, they belong to God and Guru. And as we pray, every time we pray, we offer our lives in service and devotion to the cause of our own self-realization and our ability to inspire others also to seek God. So now, as Biraj sings to us, join us in this offering that we may be Master's children, be children of God, and follow in the footsteps of light that Swamiji has tracked through the wilderness in front of us, that we, like he, may find our way to freedom.
Blessed, blessed, the life that is given to God. Blessed, blessed, the ways where his feet have trod, all the joys that human heart can know. May his love on you bestow. May all dangers from your path be moved, all delusion by his truth disproved. Blessed, blessed, the life that is given to God. Blessed, blessed, the heart open to his love. Blessed, blessed, the light that shines from above. All the wealth for which men never schemed, all the beauty ever dreamed, all the gains for which men sigh and moan, will be harvested in God alone. Blessed, blessed, the heart open to his love.
Let's close now with a prayer. Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, friend, beloved God, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Lahiri Mahashaya, Swami Sri Yukteswar, beloved Master, Paramhansa Yogananda, saints of all religions, dearest friend Swami Kriyananda, we offer our lives in service and devotion to your great cause of self-realization for all. May thy love shine forever on the sanctuary of our devotion, and may we be able to awaken thy love in all hearts. Om. Peace. Amen.